Welcome to Grey Primer, a weekly show that's mostly about miniatures. My name is Nick, I'm your host, and in this episode, it's the final day in Ork March with the Battlewagon. I know I said earlier in the month that it was kind of weird dedicating March to Orks when there was a perfectly suitable month in October or Orktober waiting for that special. But maybe I'll do a special then too. I have to see. I gotta see if there are enough kits to sort of tide me over to get me through that month. I certainly had too many kits this month. That's why I finished in this 2-day special. But then I kind of realized that I dedicated all of January to Orks as well. I spent the entire month converting real-world armored vehicles and tanks into Ork vehicles, and had the most fun I've ever had on this channel. But that means that 2 out of the 3 months of 2021 so far have been dedicated to Orks. If I give them October as well, that's 3 months. That's a quarter of the year dedicated to Orks. And yet I think there's still room for more. If the schedule allows it, I'll squeeze in Orks wherever I can. And whether it's in Sigmar or in 40k, I think Orks are the most fun you can have in tabletop wargaming. So I'll continue to look for kits to feature on the channel, and I'll continue to look for kit bashing opportunities in the future, because that was just epic fun. But for now, let's get into this fantastic Battlewagon and see if we're finishing off Ork March on a whimper or on a bang. Back soon. Loving the image on the front of this horrible war-torn wasteland, all sulfuric clouds, and in the back you've got the different livery here for, I guess, different Ork factions, and this thing looks so cool. I love that it's a half-track as well, and I'll be interested to see what kind of options there are for building this, for the different weapons, for the different gun platforms and things like that are possible. And yeah, let's get into this. And immediately it feels like a much older kit, and I don't care. You know, I saw when it was doing the Craft World's Battle Force that it doesn't matter how old the kits are, that Games Workshop have always been able to really nail down that high level of detail. And this thing is just covered in fantastic plates, just welded or riveted in place. And you just gotta love the Orks. I don't see a date in that sprue. I'll keep an eye out to see if there are any others. And check out this dozer plate here. That is amazing. It is seriously sharp as well, so I'm gonna have to be careful there. That's a great big Ork symbols too. And we see some weapons here. We've got these amazing tires. The tires always just look like they've got bits of metal welded onto them. Looking very cool. Then we've got the tank tracks here for the rear traction system. But still no date yet anywhere on any of those sprues, which is unusual for Games Workshop. Generally they will put their name on it and copyright it to a certain date. But nothing to be found there. Another of those really nice decal sheets. And then we have the instruction manual, and it's a much older style manual. Looks like relatively straightforward construction here. Some of the older kits, they just don't have very many numbers on the sprues, that you just kind of have to match it visually to the instruction manual. And that's fine. It was the same with the Bane blade. It does slow down things, but it's fine. I'm going to go off and get this done, and I'll be right back. So how cool is the Battlewagon? Well, it is very cool. It's just a tower of cobbled together engineering goofiness and craziness, and really is just a big tower of metal death as well. And I love it. And I think the reason I love it so much is because there are just so many options for how you set this up. Like even here on the instruction manual, if you can see that, we've got closed over turrets, we've got an open back, and that's one way of building it. You could totally go that way. I like the idea of being able to see the creatures. I think this one's a grot, and then you've got the 2 Orks here. This one's kind of a boss looking dude up top, but it's entirely up to you. I just liked seeing all the faces. I made it as Dakatastic as possible. I've got guns pointing all directions here. You got this huge turret that's retained its movement, I think this weapon here as well, yeah, this still goes up and down. And I wasn't too fussed about putting magnets into them and having them as, you know, interchangeable, but it's certainly something you could think about doing. And I can't imagine it would be a huge amount of work. Now, what I did leave unstuck was the main platform here at the back, and that just lifts off. It actually operates kind of cool as a standalone turret. I mean, you could have this on the battlefield, I suppose. There's probably rules for it. It's got the lifted dropper on the back here. It's got this dude pointing off into the sky, and he's pretty neat. And he's, I guess, the lifted dropper operator. Some orc iconography. I wasn't really sure if this was a weapon or not, so I didn't know whether to bore out the barrel, but I did notice that I missed this barrel, so I hang my head in shame on that one. I will get to it. I will drill it out because I always drill out those things. But as you can see here, the cannon still moves around a bit, and that's really cool. So for me, that operates as a little standalone turret that you drive the battle wagon in, that thing hops off and sits in the battlefield somewhere without really diminishing the battle readiness of this thing. And now that the lid's off, you can actually see into this main gun platform at the back here, and you have these two gun emplacements with these very determined looking orcs pulling the trigger on them. The weapons themselves, the orcs, incredibly high levels of detail. All of these armor panels and everything really add to the look of this incredible orc vehicle. You can just see how everything has been riveted or welded together, and it's nasty, but it's effective, and it's super orky. Lots of little orc icons dotted around the thing. Some are sculpted on, others are loose, and you can stick them wherever you want. Great detail on these doors, and you can see some of the weapon details there as well. Again, this was the one that's got a bit of elevation to it, and you can see the little grot with his determined face. Very narrow view there for the driver, I guess. I left this unstuck because I kind of figured it acted like a bit of a lifter. I put these big horns onto the front as well. They were on a sprue. There was no real instruction of where to put them, but I've kind of learned now with orc stuff, you just put them wherever it looks killy. And then you've got this guy here. He's got the binos up. He's got the big shooter pointing off to the side. And then all the exhaust system and everything. You got this very detailed half-track system with the drooped tracks between the wheels, which is a lovely detail. And yeah, that's it. Build it whatever way you want to, which is what I love about it. And here it is fully reconstructed with the turret system on the back there as well. This gives a little bit of armor protection for these gun emplacement dudes. But I really like everything about this. I think it is a super cool wagon. There's so much humor in it. There's so much visual interest in it. It's got so many different ways you could build it as well. I don't even know where to start. To me, it kind of felt like the Baneblade in many ways. It just felt like I could make 4 or 5 different models out of this, like no problem at all. And you may have seen this series of videos I did converting real world model kits into orc vehicles, and this is one of the examples here that I did, but you can see that it just sits alongside this really well. They're just absolutely in the same universe, and I would have no problem fielding these vehicles together. I really hope you've enjoyed this series of orc videos I've been doing this month. I'll put a link into the show notes below for that as well, so you can catch up on them if you've missed any. It has been an absolute pleasure doing more orc content. It is fast becoming my favorite army to build. They're just so much fun, and there's so much variety within their ranks as well. And I'm probably like you, I want to see more and more new kits coming out from Games Workshop, especially around Xenos races like the Orks. But I think if this month has taught me one thing, it's that we have some amazing orc kits available to us right now. And whatever the future brings, at least I had a lot of fun playing with these and sharing them with you. On the next episode of Grey Primer, I'm going to be doing something very different. I'm going to be looking at a whole range of battlefield accessories from a whole bunch of different manufacturers. And these are things to help you dress up, like dioramas, scenery pieces, the bases of miniatures, even on the bodywork of tanks and things like that. But looking forward to sharing all of those with you on the next episode. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.